Good afternoon, I'm Bakhtiar Sonov and you're watching A News. Now the major stories making headlines today. U.S. President Donald Trump ousts White House National Security Advisor Waltz and replaces him with Rubio. Nuclear talks between Iran and the United States, scheduled to take place tomorrow, have been postponed. High technology and artificial intelligence take center stage at Turkey's premier aerospace event, Technopass 2025. U.S. President Donald Trump has removed Mike Waltz from his position as National Security Advisor and appointed Secretary of State Marco Rubio as his interim replacement. Waltz, who had come under scrutiny over a recent security scandal, is now being nominated for a new diplomatic role at the United Nations.
U.S. President Donald Trump has made his first major staff change since January by removing National Security Advisor Mike Waltz from his key White House role. The retired Army Green Beret and former Republican congressman had faced criticism inside the White House when he was caught up in a scandal involving a signal chat among top Trump national security aides and a journalist in March. The chat reportedly shared sensitive information on a potential military strike against Yemen's Houthi rebels. However, he was cleared in an internal review. Trump announced on social media that he would be nominating Waltz to be the next U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. Though some officials claimed he was forced out, Vice President J.D. Vance insists the move was a promotion, not a firing.
Donald Trump has fired a lot of people. He doesn't give them Senate-confirmed appointments afterwards. What he thinks is that Mike Waltz is going to better serve the administration, most importantly the American people in that role, and I happen to agree with him.
Meanwhile, the nomination of Waltz is far from a done deal. The Senate must still confirm Waltz's nomination to the UN role. Secretary of State Marco Rubio will temporarily serve in both his current role and as National Security Advisor. He is the first to hold both these positions simultaneously since Henry Kissinger in the 1970s.
Washington and Kiev have signed a mineral rights agreement that will offer the United States access to Ukraine's extensive rare earth mineral resources, as well as oil and gas deposits. In return, U.S. security assistance is expected to continue to provide aid in Ukraine's war effort against Russia. Our correspondent in Washington, D.C., Ubi Shbander, has more on that.
The U.S. and Ukraine on Wednesday signed an agreement granting American access to Ukraine's vast mineral resources. The deal was finalized after months of negotiations and will ensure that American arms to Kyiv will continue for the time being. The deal is officially called the United States-Ukraine Reinvestment Fund, and it will last for 10 years. It'll provide the U.S. access to Ukraine's valuable rare earth metals in exchange for the U.S. security assurances amidst Ukraine's deadly ongoing war with Russia. Financial contributions to a joint fund would be made in cash, and only new U.S. military aid would count toward the American share. The deal does not preclude Ukraine from seeking membership with the European Union, a demand that Kyiv reportedly insisted upon. The White House wants to move quickly to implement the mineral deal with Ukraine, stressing that the agreement is meant as repayment for the billions of dollars of American military aid that has been provided to Ukraine over the years. President Trump said that the Ukraine mineral deal will provide an American presence on the sites of the mines that could be strategically beneficial for Ukrainian security. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said that the deal shows that the Trump administration is committed to a peace process that is centered on a free, sovereign, and prosperous Ukraine over the long term. Ukraine will retain full control over its national resources, and state-owned enterprises will remain state property, according to the deal. The U.S. will contribute to the fund through direct payments or through new military assistance. And Ukraine will contribute 50% of future revenue with royalties from newly issued licenses for critical minerals, oil and gas exploration. Senior Trump administration officials have said that they expect Ukraine's parliament to ratify the deal soon. I'm Ubi Shbander in Washington, D.C., A News.
Ukraine's parliament is set to vote on May the 8th to ratify a minerals deal with the United States. The agreement backed by President Donald Trump gives the United States priority access to investments in Ukraine's natural resources and reconstruction. While some implementation documents don't require ratification, the main bill was submitted on May the 1st. The deal is seen as a major step to repair ties with Washington, which had cooled in recent months.
Подальшу співпрацю для її успішної реалізації. Ця угода безперечно стане.
The government is counting on your support for the speedy ratification of this agreement, for further cooperation, for its successful implementation. This agreement will undoubtedly become the basis for new relations with the United States of America, which we need to protect our statehood in the war and restore our country after this war. The concluded agreement is fully consistent with the Constitution of Ukraine and does not contradict the national legislation of Ukraine. These are mutually beneficial agreements that create a positive dynamic of our reconstruction and our development for decades.
Не виходять за рамки угоди, а розвивають.
The war in Ukraine is not ending anytime soon. That's according to U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance. Speaking to Fox News, Vance said it's now up to Russia and Ukraine to bring the brutal conflict to a close. His comments come despite U.S. President Donald Trump's team finalizing a long-awaited deal granting the U.S. access to key Ukrainian mineral resources. Earlier this week, Washington warned it may step back from mediating the war unless both sides present concrete peace proposals. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin announced a 3-day ceasefire for Victory Day, but rejected a broader 30-day truce supported by both Ukraine and the United States. Oil prices climbed on Friday after China expressed openness to tariff talks with the United States. This sparked hopes of de-escalating a trade war between the world's two largest economies. Brent crude rose nearly 0.8% to $62.62 a barrel, while U.S. crude futures climbed to $59.74 a barrel. China's Commerce Ministry says Washington has tried to resolve the dispute, but warned it will fight if the United States seeks confrontation. Concerns remain that trade tensions could trigger a recession, especially with OPEC Plus raising output, adding pressure on oil prices. U.S. President Donald Trump has said that more than 100 countries, including India, Japan, and South Korea, are in talks with the U.S. for potential trade agreements. Speaking during a News Nation town hall, Trump said the United States is negotiating what he called potential deals with South Korea, Japan, and India. He noted there is no rush to finalize any agreements, adding that the country is benefiting from existing tariffs. Trump also rejected his long-standing criticism of South Korea, claiming it has been lacking advantage of the United States in trade while Washington bears the cost of its military protection. His comments come as new data shows the U.S. economy shrank by 0.3% in the first quarter, the first such decline in 3 years. Trump blamed the dip on the policies of the Biden administration.
And we're going to give them a lot of time to do it, but after that, it's going to be a tariff.
The next round of indirect U.S.-Iran talks in Rome has been postponed due to logistical and technical reasons. A new date will be announced with mutual agreement. Nuclear talks involving Iran, Oman, and the United States are currently on hold.
The fourth round of US-Iran talks, initially scheduled for the 3rd of May in Rome, has been postponed due to logistical reasons. Omani Foreign Minister Saeed Badr bin Hamad Al Busaidi announced the delay on social media, stating that new dates would be decided through mutual agreement. Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Ismail Baghai confirmed the postponement, clarifying that it was initiated by Oman. The US also commented, saying the May 3rd meeting had never been officially confirmed but would be rescheduled soon. In a related development, French Foreign Minister announced that the nuclear talks planned for the 2nd of May between Iran, the UK, France and Germany would also be postponed. Despite the delays, Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi reaffirmed Iran's commitment to reaching a fair agreement. He emphasized that the delay was purely technical and did not alter Iran's objectives of lifting sanctions and demonstrating the peaceful intent of its nuclear program. Tehran reiterated its position that it is pursuing its legal rights and the lifting of sanctions through diplomatic channels. Previous rounds of talks were held in Muscat and Rome in April, with Iran represented by Abbas Araghchi and the US by Special Envoy Steve Witkoff.
Germany's domestic intelligence agency has classified the AfD as an extremist organization. This decision allows for covert surveillance of the party and imposes restrictions on members' access to public service jobs. Analysts warn this move could boost public support for the AfD.
Germany's domestic intelligence agency has classified the far-right AfD party as extremist. Interior Minister Nancy Faeser stated that this decision enables authorities to monitor the party using covert methods, like informants and surveillance.
Die AfD ist als gesichert rechtsextremistische Partei.
The previous assessment of the AfD as a suspected right-wing extremist organisation has been confirmed by the courts. The new assessment will certainly also be reviewed by the courts. In a constitutional state, independent courts decide in the end.
In his likely last public speech, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz opposed hasty party ban decisions and reminded that the Federal Constitutional Court has rejected all such petitions in recent years. Came just days before Friedrich Merz was set to take office, and amid debates on how to handle AfD in the new parliament.
In other words, the new assessment by the Domestic Intelligence Agency shows that we are a democracy with defences and have legal instruments to protect our democracy against extremist threats. This includes observation and evaluation by the Domestic Intelligence Agency, as is the case here. We should always separate these legal instruments from the necessary political debate.
The BFV has classified AfD as an extremist threat to democracy, citing its ethnically based concept of the nation and unequal treatment of migrant origin citizens. This decision, made just before Friedrich Merz became Chancellor, has intensified debates about AfD. Despite winning a record number of seats, AfD still needs support from other parties. Analysts warn that being labelled extremist could boost its popularity.
As tensions mount between Islamabad and New Delhi over a recent deadly Kashmir attack, a number of tit-for-tat measures have been implemented, including the cancellation of visas and mutual airspace closures. India has also suspended the water-sharing treaty that ensures Pakistan's access to essential water resources from the Indus River system.
The Indus Waters Treaty, which had endured 65 years and 3 wars between India and Pakistan, has been paused following the Kashmir attack, further threatening Pakistan's water security. The Indus Waters Treaty, signed on September 19, 1960, between India and Pakistan with the help of the World Bank, defines how the two countries share the waters of the Indus River system. Under the treaty, Pakistan gets control of the 3 western rivers, the Indus, Jhelum and Chenab, while India controls the 3 eastern rivers, the Ravi, Beas and Sutlej. Pakistan heavily depends on the Indus River for farming and fears that Indian dams could reduce water flow. The suspension allows India to withhold crucial information on dam water releases and floods. This is not India's first attempt to suspend the Indus Waters Treaty. The first threat emerged in 2016 after the Uri attack, in which 19 Indian soldiers were killed. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's remark that blood and water cannot flow together signaled a turning point, widely seen as a trial balloon, marking the start of India's deliberate move to challenge the treaty. 3 years later, in 2019, a series of events escalated India's threat against the treaty. After the Pulwama attack in February 2019, attention focused on India's airstrikes in Balakot, but a more significant move came in August 2019. Back then, India took a significant step by revoking Article 370, effectively absorbing Indian-controlled Kashmir into the Indian Federation. This was accompanied by the Jammu and Kashmir Reorganization Act, which split the region into 2 union territories. The changes brought land acquisition in Jammu and Kashmir under India's 2013 central law, revoked Article 35A, and repealed the J&K Land Acquisition Act of 1934, easing land ownership and acquisition for non-residents. The move followed a surge of investments. Indian media reports reveal that since 2019, over 6,851 project proposals worth more than $14 billion have been submitted. Various ministries, including railways, defense, civil aviation, transport, and power, have acquired land in the disputed territory. India has also been advancing controversial water projects, like the Ratel and Kishan Ganga dams, despite Pakistan's objections. India's move to withdraw from the Indus Waters Treaty mirrors its 2019 action of claiming Jammu and Kashmir, escalating the threat to Pakistan's water security. What the future holds is another question, hard to answer but impossible to ignore.
India's suspension of its participation in the decades-old Indus Waters Treaty with Pakistan has sparked regional alarm. The move has raised serious geopolitical and humanitarian concerns, with Islamabad calling it an act of war and Pakistani farmers fearing for their water security. This marks a critical turning point in India-Pakistan relations. To unpack the implications of this major decision, we are joined by, live from Karachi, Pakistan, journalist Khurram Hussain. Mr. Hussain, welcome to the program.
Thank you for the invitation.
Mr. Hussain, India's suspension of the treaty has taken many by surprise. What do we know about the New Delhi's reasoning and why now?
The New Delhi has not provided much reasoning. They've basically provided, told the country that this is something that we have done. And in response to the terrorist strike that took place in Kashmir, even though there is nothing in the treaty which permits India to link terrorist attacks to the water sharing accord that the treaty embodies. And the timing, I think they've taken advantage of the noise that has been created around the terrorist incident to do something that they have been meaning to do for many years, because India has been talking about walking out of the treaty from as far back as 2016. And they've mentioned it a few other times. They had told Pakistan in January of 2023 and again in, I think, August 2024 that this is something they want to do. They want to either walk out of the treaty, they want to renegotiate it or something like that. So within India, this is an old idea. And it seems like they found the opportunity to implement it under the cover of this terror attack in Kashmir.
Mm-hmm. Pakistan's reaction has been very strong, calling it an act of war. How justified is this response from a legal and diplomatic standpoint?
I think Pakistan has always been saying, whenever India talked of walking out of the Indus Water Treaty, that this would be perceived as an act of war, because Pakistan is a lower riparian and the waters that flow through that river are crucial for ensuring, for Pakistan's economy, but also for ensuring food security in Pakistan. But I think in this particular instance, this was a first reaction. It was said as a reflex. It was basically a statement. Pakistan is in the process right now, from what I understand, of formulating its official sort of proper response, which is going to be legal in nature. Trying to find the right forum. The treaty itself provides some options for that, such as an external court of arbitration to which to take internal disputes, or maybe even approach The Hague, in the International Court of Justice in the Hague. And this is a decision that they are in the process of making right now, to see whether they want to treat this as a dispute that is internal to the Indus Water Treaty, or an external dispute where a water dispute has now spilled outside of the ability of the treaty to regulate, and as a result requires outside partners to intervene.
So what are the possible off-ramps or diplomatic mechanisms that could prevent further escalation and bring both sides back to the negotiating table?
I think it would be very simple for India to simply withdraw its order holding the treaty in abeyance. I think legally it cannot be said that they have walked out of the treaty or exited it. They've simply communicated to Pakistan that we are holding it in abeyance. There is no such legally recognized status in the treaty or in international law. Article 62 of the Vienna Convention governs how treaties or when a particular party to a treaty can suspend that treaty or exit it. It does not recognize holding a treaty in abeyance as any kind of a condition as such. So I think for Pakistan right now, the decision is to figure out which forum to actually take its complaint to and keep it restricted for the time being at a legal level, while bracing for a potential military response from India, which is widely expected in Pakistan to take place at some point. We were expecting it sometime by yesterday, but the danger still has not lifted.
Mr. Hussain, thank you very much for talking to A News. We appreciate your time. The United Nations is considering a major overhaul that could reshape its global operations. According to a confidential internal memo, senior officials are proposing to merge dozens of UN agencies into 4 main departments: peace and security, humanitarian affairs, sustainable development, and human rights. The sweeping review comes as the agencies struggle to manage funding shortfalls following major U.S. foreign aid cuts under President Donald Trump. If implemented, the reforms would represent the most significant changes to the world body in decades. Innovation takes center stage in Nicosia as Technofest 2025 dazzles with robotics, AI, aerial shows, and cultural fair, marking a vibrant celebration of progress.
We're now deep into day 2 of the 2025 Technofest here in Nicosia, Northern Cyprus, and the energy is electric with innovation. Across the grounds, it's a tech lover's paradise, from AI breakthroughs to cutting-edge aviation. At the Artificial Intelligence and Aircraft Pavilions, crowds gathered to witness the future in action. The robotics competitions are in full swing, with students from schools, universities, and institutions showcasing their precision-engineered creations. The skill and creativity on display are simply next level. Adding cultural flair to the festival, a traditional Azerbaijani dance performance wowed the crowds, proudly presented by the Azerbaijan-Cyprus Friendship Association. In the skies, the Bayraktar TB2 T-70 helicopter and Solo Turks stole the show with live performances, drawing cheers from the audience with their aerial flights. Meanwhile, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan is expected to attend the 3rd day of the festival. This festival is more than a tech showcase. It's a celebration of vision, unity, and progress. With more competitions, panels, and big moments still to come, Technofest 2025 is making its mark in the region. This is Ali Aziz, reporting from Nicosia, the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus, for A News.
High technology and artificial intelligence are once again in the spotlight at Turkey's premier aerospace and technology event. This year, Technofest is making headlines from beyond the country's borders, broadcasting innovation, independence, and inspiration from the heart of the Northern Cyprus. The opening ceremony of Technofest, Turkey's flagship tech event, was held Thursday at the historic Ercan Airport in Nicosia in Northern Cyprus. The head of the event, Selçuk Bayraktar, emphasized the transformative role of high technology and artificial intelligence. Bayraktar highlighted that artificial intelligence holds the power to revolutionize sectors like healthcare and education, bringing countless opportunities to improve lives. Also speaking at the event, Haluk Görgün, head of Turkey's Defense Industries Agency, focused on the importance of self-sufficiency in the defense sector.
biz savunma sanayi alanı başta olmak üzere dışa bağımlılığın acısını çok iyi bilen bir ülkeyiz.
We are a country that understands the pain of foreign dependence, especially in defense. Technofest has become the biggest platform for exploration in our country. It has allowed us to discover our youth, the nation's most valuable resource.
Since 2018, Technofest has been organized annually by the Turkish Technology Team Foundation and the Ministry of Industry and Technology with support from government bodies, private companies and universities. Traditionally rotating between various cities in even-numbered years and returning to Istanbul in odd-numbered ones, this marks only the second time the festival has ventured internationally after its 10th edition in Azerbaijan. In 2024, Technofest drew approximately 1.1 million visitors in Adana, underscoring the event's growing regional appeal and its role in shaping a future driven by innovation and youth empowerment.
Kazakhstan has teamed up with China for a major oil exploration project in the Caspian Sea. For more on that, we go to Almaty and our Fariza Kalimurzina.
Kazakhstan's national oil company Kazmunaygaz has signed an agreement with China National Offshore Oil Corporation International Limited to jointly carry out a geological exploration project in the Atyrau region in the western part of Kazakhstan. The project covers a 960 square kilometer section of the northeastern Caspian Sea. According to the agreement, the exploration will be conducted on a 50-50 basis. However, all initial exploration costs will be covered by the Chinese side. The project includes seismic surveys and the drilling of one super-salt exploration well, approximately 2 kilometers deep. If the results are promising, a second well subsalt and 4.5 kilometers deep will be drilled. Meanwhile, as China prepares to explore for oil in Kazakhstan's waters, its demand for oil already exported from Kazakhstan has plummeted. Since the beginning of the year, China has cut its imports of crude oil from Kazakhstan by 82%, amounting to an $827 million decrease. Experts attribute this slump to China's slowing economic growth and its aggressive shift toward electric vehicles. According to the State Revenue Committee, Kazakhstan's overall oil exports declined by 14% in volume during the first quarter of 2025, from 17.8 million tons to 15.3 million tons. Additionally, since the beginning of the year, 6 countries, including South Korea, India, the United Kingdom, Croatia, Poland, and Brunei, have completely stopped purchasing Kazakh oil. Experts note that South Korea, for example, is increasingly diversifying its energy sources and showing a growing preference for U.S. crude. Despite growing production volumes, exports are lagging, especially in the Asian direction. However, there are some positive signs. Shipments to Bulgaria, Spain, Azerbaijan, and Romania are on the rise. Also, new markets such as Egypt and the Bahamas have emerged. In general, much will depend on geopolitics, which continues to have a key impact on both the price environment and the geography of exports. Fariza Kalimurzina, A News, in Almaty, Kazakhstan.
A centuries-old tradition takes center stage in Baku. The International Carpet Festival is bringing together artists and experts from around the world to celebrate the art of carpet weaving.
Carpet weaving in Azerbaijan isn't just a tradition, it's a story woven through centuries, recognized globally by UNESCO. And this weekend, Baku turns into a living museum as the International Carpet Festival kicks off.
The International Carpet Festival opened today at the Baku Business Center with the launch of the International Carpet Forum, bringing together experts, designers, and master weavers from around the world.
Today is the first day of the festival. It's a forum. We have international speakers, local speakers. We're happy and proud that all of them accepted our invitation, and you have seen already first session, and we will have many sessions today, different speeches about carpet weaving around the globe. And of course, upcoming 2 days is a carpet festival which takes place in Old Town of Baku, İçerişehir.
Throughout the day, participants took part in plenary sessions, panel talks, and B2B meetings. Special focus was given to young researchers and artists, pointing to the future of the craft.
Guests and experts from over dozens of countries are here, each bringing their own perspectives on the shared language of textiles.
Weavers from Azakalcha workshops across Azerbaijan participated in the event as well, sharing their skills and stories through live demos and masterclasses, connecting past and present with every knot.
I'm really amazed how Azerbaijan has preserved tapestry, and this is amazing to see how throughout times this tradition is still alive, and how many professionals are involved in this amazing craft. And we, Liepāja Museum, were more than happy to exhibit 14 original pieces made by Azakalcha, depicting carpets making traditions of different regions of Azerbaijan, and then followed by another creative project recreating a replica of 17th century carpets, which truly looks like from the old days.
This year's festival also marks the 25th anniversary of İçerişehir's inscription on the UNESCO World Heritage List. As global participation continues to grow, distinguished guests are reflecting on the significance of this cultural exchange.
I'm very happy to be again in Baku, where I have many friends and where I followed the development of the Carpet Museum since 2015. As you know, I donated, or I helped to make donations of several carpets to the museum, and I'm very happy to see how the museum evolved. I am delighted to see this, to participate at this event together with other scholars.
It is a great honor for me to take part in the Azakalcha Festival. That's why I prepared for this day with special care. I created a pair of impromptu velvet gloves featuring a design inspired by one of the traditional carpet patterns. Through this gesture, I wanted to express my deep respect, admiration, and appreciation for Azerbaijan's rich culture and art.
The festival aims to promote Azerbaijan's carpet art globally while fostering exchange with master weavers from around the world. Over the weekend, it will continue in the historic streets of İçerişehir, featuring carpet exhibitions, masterclasses, interactive theatre performances, and musical events in ancient caravanserais and squares. Representatives from various countries will showcase their unique carpet weaving traditions, making this a rich global celebration of culture and craftsmanship.
Well, that's all we have for this hour. Thank you for joining us, and stay tuned for more updates.